welcome to Curious Viewer, where we discuss all kinds of media. My name is Valerie, the host of this podcast, and to kickstart the first season, let's dive in one of my top favorite anime of all time, Psycho-Pass. Now I'm going to do several discussions on this anime in like bite-sized episodes, which is around probably 10 minutes or something. And in this episode, we're going to quickly go through what Psycho-Pass is all about and its most prominent theme, determinism versus free will. I've divided content into different chapters, so you can just skip to the part that you want to listen. Without further ado, let's begin. So first of all, what is Psycho-Pass about? Psycho-Pass is set in like this futuristic society where it is possible to measure a person's mental states and their possibility of their committing a crime. The result of this measurement is a number called Psycho-Pass or crime coefficient. If you have a low Psycho-Pass score, you're good to go. I think you're viewed as a good citizen. You're more likely to get privileges like social respect, good jobs, stuff like that. However, if you have high Psycho-Pass score, then you'll be labeled Latin criminals, and you're doomed to some kind of social judgment, rehabilitation in the form of like isolating therapy, and in extreme cases, Sybil, the overarching system that calculates your Psycho-Pass score, will give you a very painful, but I guess at least instant death. Now, in this context, our heroine Akane Tsunemori joins the Public Safety Bureau's Criminal Investigation Division. You can just understand as a police force, as an inspector, kind of like a captain or something. When Akane begins her work, she and her team start to investigate this series of like brutal crimes committed by this mastermind called Makishima Shogo. But as the investigation unfolds, they discovered that Makishima's Psycho-Pass cannot be measured accurately by Sybil. So he could lie, he could kill, he could manipulate, but his Psycho-Pass score would stay the same. Even in some cases, his Psycho-Pass would get better. And this really make the whole team start to question the morality of the Sybil system. Now, I know I'm glossing over a lot here, but in the end, Makishima is killed and the first season concludes. To better understand what this anime has to say on determinism and free will, I think we should get to know the terminology first. So what exactly is determinism? Determinism is the belief that everything is the inevitable result of what came before. So nothing other than what did happen could happen. So if this morning you suddenly feel like you're wanting to have noodles, you didn't just crave noodles out of nowhere. Past events have led you to crave noodles. Maybe you overheard someone talking about how good noodles are at a cafe you went to yesterday, and you just couldn't be at another cafe other than that one that you've been to, because the ones that your friends recommended was none other than the ones that you were going to, right? So with determinism, everything is predetermined, the destination, the journey, and you have no control over your own choice. So, how exactly is determinism portrayed in the world of Psycho-Pass? I think the most obvious representation of determinism here is Sybil. Sybil is like an overarching system that categorizes, classifies individuals into different groups based on their Psycho-Pass hues. So the darker the hues, the worse one mental state is, and the more likely they'll commit a crime. So likely is a keyword here, because many of the times, as in like the very first episode, Sybil punishes people before the crime is even committed. So the girl who have just witnessed a horrific crime just transpiring before her eyes and got traumatized, of course her mental state would be worse. But there's no chance for her to get rehabilitation. She will just probably get killed if Akane Tsunemori, our protagonist, didn't stop Kogami Shinya. So not only the probability of committing crime, but also one's aptitude for jobs, for education, what kind of living area they should be in, everything is somewhat determined by Sybil. So if the concept of Sybil seems to remind you of something, like social credit score, I think you'll get it. Like Sybil is very much social credit score, but set in the Sybil's world. Sybil, in a sense, is symbolic of hard determinism and a form of like reductionism. Your psychopath is a singular point from which all of your actions can be determined, can be explained, and they will eventually branch out from. In a way, your psychopath is, to Sybil, your whole identity. That's just briefly how determinism is portrayed in this anime. What about the opposite stance, free will? So free will is the belief that some human actions are freely chosen. It is the complete opposite to determinism. So if you're craving noodles for breakfast, and you can't pinpoint a particular reason behind your cravings, then you're just spontaneously, randomly choose to crave noodles. You are free to choose to do so. So how exactly did psychopaths portray free will? In short, Makishima Shogo. Sybil operates on this assumption that psychopath number alone is enough to foster social progress. The system will calculate what the best course of action that individual should take, and the individual just have to comply to what Sybil recommended. Everyone will be better off, and yay technology. But Makishima is deeply against this notion. He thinks that there's no meaning to an action if the agent of said action does not conduct it freely. This is where we have to think of what it really means to be free. Free will libertarianist has this principle called principle of alternative choice. And basically, PAC dictates that an action is only free if the agent or the person doing the thing could have done otherwise. In other words, truly free action requires option. Are there options under the Sybil system? Yes and no. Sybil recommends you your food choice, your outfit, your education, your employment, etc. But can you actually go against these suggestions? That's a question, right? Technically, you could, but then your disobedience will be factored into your credit score, your psychopath. And if it's not something desirable by the Sybil system, you're one step closer to becoming the black sheep of the community. And so yes, you can choose between options put forward by Sybil, but Sybil is the only option that you can have. And under Sybil, crime is the biggest taboo. Hence, our dear Makishima Shogo actively seeks to dismantle this deterministic control of the Sybil system through a series of criminal activities. He often gives his victims the means to act on their own will, especially when their desires are those that are suppressed under Sybil for fear of punishment. So things like killing people to steal their social media accounts, yes, that happens. Killing other people to make arts, killing other people to revenge for being bullied. A lot of killing is done by Makishima, secondhand or firsthand. Makishima conducts are, of course, extreme, but he is also symbolic of a common reaction towards an overly regulated society. With Sybil, the society no longer appreciates individuality, community, or the negative experiences that help enhance the positive ones. Most of the things that make human lives truly human are now robbed by Sybil in the name of a somewhat safety and stability values, which, as Makishima's crimes reveal later on, is mostly a farce. Now, I think Makishima is opposed of the Sybil deterministic principle, but it doesn't make him a free will libertarianist who thinks that humans actually have total control over their decision making and none of their actions are predetermined by past happenings. I don't think that's the case. I think Makishima is fully aware of how difficult it actually is for humans to be entirely free and to stay uninfluenced by past experiences. He just thinks that there should not be an entire system built and supported to eradicate the already limited choice that we have. So what Makishima deems unacceptable is not determinism itself, but it's just that the people are living like lambs and they're blindly following deterministic principle without questioning how that would put their agency at risk. And on that note, I think that most of our characters in Psychopaths are actually neither determinist or free will libertarianist. If we have to pinpoint their stance with a term, it could be compatibilism, where everything is predetermined, yes, but we can still call an action free if the determination comes within ourselves. So Akane Tsunemori, Kogami Shinya, Makishima Shogo, and those working at the police force, they're all aware of how experiences shape individuals and how there are actually more to one's identity than just their psychopath numbers. Do they realize that Sybil is somehow flawed for not taking into account our individuality or for reducing everything to a number? The answer is probably yes, they do realize that. But except for Makishima, most would also agree that Sybil is the new order and it does bring more benefits than harm. This utilitarianistic view will be the topic of the next discussion. And I think that concludes today's episode. That's a very, very, very brief take on Psychopath's theme of like determinism versus free will. I know that there are a lot more to delve into, and I'm just providing a very like condensed version of what I think right here. And I'd love to hear your opinions. So Curious Viewer is available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We also have like an Instagram account at curiousviewer.content where we upload bloopers and like schedules. So if you enjoy our content, please give us some interactions, like subscribe, follow, stuff like that. And stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you for supporting and see you next time.